Okay. So we got our new book, Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Pretty different than the books we've read so far. Very, very sci-fi, science-y, all those sorts of
Mm-hmm.
things. And yeah, so I guess we'll just start with chapter 1, which is page
Makes sense.
1 through yeah, yeah, I thought maybe we could start on chapter 3, but I just thought that'd be too crazy. So we'll do chapter 1 first. Page 1
All
through
right.
19. And all right. So, a confused man wakes up in a capsule/bed to the repetitive questions of a nanny robot arm. He slowly regains basic use of his body and answers some math questions before drifting to sleep. The next time he wakes up, he is able to move more, and the robot arms remove all the tubes except his IV, catheter, and depuper. He is able to sit up a bit and notices the two other assumedly occupied bed capsules that are also in the room. The robot arms ask his name, and he can't remember it, and he is sedated through his IV. Next time he wakes up, he quickly removes his IV and rolls out of bed, removing the catheter and depuper via gravity. The bloody streak on the ground from his catheter makes him have a flashback about a strange astrophysics email he had once received. It detailed the discovery of a strange line between Venus and the sun emitting infrared light. This email was from a Dr. Irina Petrova. He remembers a few basic things about his life, but not his name. He assesses the contents of the two other capsule beds, and both have dead, mummified bodies in them. He tries to enter the hatch above him, but falls off the ladder. The robot arms catch him and put him back to bed. He wakes up to the robot arms giving him a tube of food, and it's pretty tasty. He tries to enter the hatch above, and this time succeeds. There is a laboratory, lots of scientific instruments, and he seems to know what they all do. There is another hatch at the top of the laboratory, but this one requires his name to enter, and he still doesn't know what it is. He falls and notes the wrongness of his fall. He does a basic experiment where he measures the time it takes for a test tube to drop and concludes gravity is too high and he might not be on Earth. Okay, Amarillo, what question have you brought?
How do you guys think you would have fared in this particular situation?
Well, without the
Do you,
scientific and medical knowledge, probably not
well,
well.
specifically like
You're cutting out.
like waking up from a coma with no memories? Like, how do you think you would handle that?
Oh, yeah, probably more
Oh,
panicked. Maybe he was medicated in some way to help
Yep.
him not panic as much.
oh, definitely medicated for sure. He seemed very apathetic to it, but also it's like
Yeah.
you don't realize how much you don't know until you start thinking about things, which is what happens to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, wait,
Yep.
who am I? Where am I?
Honestly, all I can think about is how you pulled out a or how he pulled out his own catheter. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
Yep.
moment.
Yeah. I think I would probably freak out a goodly bit more. I think he handled himself quite well.
Yeah, especially with the dead bodies there as well.
Yeah.
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 probably would have been okay until I saw the bodies.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The robot arms are kind of scary.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they're spooky.
Trying to catch him and stuff, sedating him.
Because yeah, when this story starts, it's like, fuck, is this guy getting experimented on in a lab? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
Um,
if you haven't like
yeah.
read the synopsis on the back and like you just went in completely blind, like that is absolutely an understandable quick conclusion to come to.
It's like what people say when you get abducted by aliens and they stick anal probes up your butt. That's why I thought I would have been like, oh my god, I'm abducted by aliens. That was like the first 2 pages too when I read the book, because I read it when I started reading it. I was watching the Super Bowl with my family, and I read the first 2 pages, and I read that part. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh man, yeah.
Yep.
I didn't even know there was a poop version of a catheter.
Yeah.
Did they even
I
say
thought
what
I
it's
didn't
called?
either.
I just called it a deep pooper.
Nope. I think that's the closest we're gonna get. I don't think they actually gave like a scientific or
Geraint,
official
is there a name for that?
It's an FMS, a fecal management system.
Oh, all right. Well, there you
Oh,
go.
there you go.
He's a space guy, not a medical guy. He probably doesn't know what it's called either.
So they
Well,
do exist.
he doesn't. Was there a sequence here where I thought he was a doctor? He was talking about all the things that it would need to be
Oh, I
done,
think
right?
He knew some medical stuff.
yeah, which I imagine is like coming in from whatever training he had
Yeah.
to prepare for this.
They probably all had to learn how to do a little bit of everything just in case a situation like what happened, so that, they weren't crippled by the loss of certain people.
Man,
Yep.
astronaut shit's some serious business too. Like,
Oh yeah.
just read about some of the near misses and you'll understand why he knows what he knows.
Okay. For the gravity experiment, does anybody actually want to try to do this? Geraint, I have a measuring tape in my office if you want to try to do it, and you could see if you do better than me. But basically, for anybody who wants to do it, it's just a quick thing. It'll only take us a couple minutes. It's a test of your reflexes more than anything else.
Oh, Fantasy 14.
And but yeah, you'll take like a dense object or a pen or something, and you're dropping it from like a set height, and basically on your phone you're pressing a stopwatch when you drop it, and then when you hear it hit the ground, and you do that like 5 times or something, take the average of it, and then you measure the distance of whatever you were dropping it off of, and then you can see how closely you can calculate Earth's gravity.
Ooh.
I remember doing this experiment in high school.
Any takers? Any measuring tapers? Geraint, you want to get this measuring tape?
I have measuring tape in my office already.
Oh shit! Are you doing it right now?
Oh man.
It's really hard. It falls so fast.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's like a test of your reaction time. We'll see it. We'll see if you do better than me. So for my one, I dropped my pen 0.745 meters, and it took for me on average 0.43 seconds, but that only got me to 7.83 meters per second square, and obviously the gravity one is 9.8 meters per second squared. So I calculated what it should be, and for like my desk distance and everything, it should have been 0.389 seconds. So I was off by, I guess, point oh, let's see, 3 point, just get exactly how much. Fractions of a second.
14 and a half years later,
Mhm.
you find yourself failing high school physics.
Oh God. Yeah, I'm gonna have a nightmare about this later tonight. I'm back in high school. Like, fuck, why can't I figure? So it's 0.04 seconds off. I was with my reaction time. Do you have yours yet, Geraint?
I was very off.
What was yours?
I had gravity at 4.2 meters per second squared.
Did
So half of
did you did you square the time? Because the first time I did it, I didn't, but
I divided by time twice. Yeah.
okay. So what? So when you divided, you did square the time.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you were pretty off. That's all right. Okay.
Okay.
Well, we can continue on to chapter 2 then. Oh, does anybody else have any other thoughts about chapter 1? Thoughts, comments?
I
Great
do
start
like
to the
how,
book.
yeah, I like how he used his knowledge to figure out where he was and what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pretty consistently. That was
Yeah.
pretty impressive. I like that. I like that whole sci-fi wake up, who am I type of plot device.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, when I come across a mystery like this, my reaction is just turn the page because I don't want to stop and think about it. I want to read on and figure out what it is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Chapter 2, page 20 through 33. Our main character is panicking a bit and hypothesizes explanations for why gravity is high that would let him still be on Earth. He thought maybe he's in a centrifuge. So he does a pendulum experiment and counts the period of pendulum swings over 10 minutes at two different heights, but they're the same. So it's not likely that he is in a centrifuge. He has another flashback, this time of having dinner with an old grad school friend who works for the government. She is stressed and trying to get drunk and tells him the sun is losing luminosity exponentially. The consequences of this are dire: ice age, famine, etc. He comes back to the present and knows the fear he feels from this flashback has been there a long time. He gets overwhelmed and breaks down crying, remembering bits and pieces about the two other mummified passengers. They were all in medically induced comas for this voyage, but only he survived. He is given more food by the robot and figures out how to access water and a toilet. He tries to induce flashbacks by thinking of science and gets one. He remembers the day NASA televised the findings of Project Arclight, a probe sent to assess and collect samples of the Petrova line. It was less than a year after the Petrova problem had been announced. They found microscopic black dots bouncing around. He is taken out of his flashback by the sound of the ship's computer saying, "Angular anomaly." He imagines he needs to unlock the hatch in the laboratory to see about this angular anomaly. He refocuses on the memory to try to get more information and remembers he is a teacher. All right, Jesse, what question do you have?
And this was the chapter where they talked about they had the broadcast with the interview, right?
Yes, the NASA interview. Mhm.
I thought I'd remember correctly. In this chapter, we kind of saw the first glimpse of the world working together upon learning this information and kind of having a unified threat. And I'm curious if you guys found that, like, current administration aside, do you all think that that would be reality?
I would hope so.
Right.
Something stealing the
I would
sun's
hope.
energy. This seems like an everybody problem.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you would
I would
imagine
hope
that would
so.
be. Yeah.
But it
Cries
kind
of
of
a
like, because it
federal
gets brought up later
probationary
with like
employee.
it gets brought up later with like climate change. It's not on the same scale, but it's similar.
That's true.
And we struggle with that.
That is
But we
true.
this seems proven though. They like prove that yeah, this thing is sucking the energy out of the sun. whatever
And I
it is.
mean,
I
we
think
did
global
figure out
warming's
the
been
ozone.
tracked and
We
trending too, though. And this
I
is the
mean,
beginning of an exponential curve very early.
we also we did do the ozone layer. Like we fixed that, and we haven't fucked it up yet. We fixed acid rain, so like we can do it. A better
It's just
world is
yeah.
possible.
Yeah. I think because this is just a new thing and not, global climate change is something that's been debated for years and years. This is a new problem that's seeing drastic results so quickly. I feel like this could happen, but also there's a lot of tensions right now.
Mm-hmm.
In a perfect world, yes, I would hope this would happen.
I think in this story, what helps them also is the fact that this is like a qualitative visual thing. Like they
Yeah.
can see the line,
That's
you
true.
know,
Mhm.
whereas for something like global warming, we're tracking things, following trends, but it's not like a streak in the sky that, it's more, measuring and collecting data in a less qualitative way. So maybe that makes it
Yeah.
easier for people to come together for this particular thing. It would be interesting, though, later in the story, if he has flashbacks relating to how normal people are responding to this. Like, are people going to start protesting, going crazy? Like,
Yeah, because at the moment it's still kind of a far away problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be
And
interesting to see what happens when it gets closer.
yeah, and they're keeping it from the public as of right now. So,
Well, at this point, it was televised. The NASA
Yeah.
interview
well,
was
the
televised.
severity, right?
See,
The
that's the
severity of it.
that's the most unbelievable part, that it was televised.
Yeah, this would be like hush hush, I feel like,
Yeah.
for a
Yeah, we'd
while.
never know.
Yeah, until you start getting like amateur astrologers, or astronomers. I can't remember
Astronomers.
the
Mhm,
difference.
astronomers.
Thank you. Like doing what they talk about later on, where they these people who have thousands of dollars of equipment for their hobby are like starting to notice that curve, and
Change in brightness from the other stars. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
yes, yep.
Okay. How are you guys liking the first person perspective of this story? Because that's something else that's different.
As a
I like
fan of
it.
video games and RPGs, I am perfectly fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you
It
really connect to
definitely.
with the character, and
I
you
don't
also
think.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't think the story would work as well with a third person point of view. Like I think with the way,
Yeah.
like just the type of story it is, and what I think Andy is trying to do, like I think first person is probably the best choice for it.
Mm-hmm.
It just
Yeah.
gives much more connection to the main character also, because you're seeing how he's affected by everything.
His personality coming out as well.
Mhm.
Did you guys laugh at the part at the end about he's like, oh God, why do I like kids? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like
oh,
kind
He's like,
of
I don't like this
nervous.
train of thought.
yes.
A little
That was
nervous
really
about
funny.
that.
Yeah, I
was like,
didn't
okay.
know his profession, so I got nervous.
Yeah, it's a
Kids. Why do I like
dark
kids?
turn in this. Yeah, actually, he
Like,
was
wait a minute, hold on.
a criminal pedophile. They launched him into space to get rid of him. Is actually how the story's gonna go.
Yep, this is your congratulations. Your reparations for being a fucking creep
Yeah.
is save humanity. Congratulations.
Okay. Does anyone else have any thoughts, comments about chapter 2?
my favorite part of this chapter for the world building and making it realistic is like, they're at GPL, they're announcing everything, and someone in the background says, "What the fuck?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Spirits are high,
Hi,
folks.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yep.
love that.
Yeah, when they
Yep.
find out that they're alive, like the microbes are actually alive, or they seem to be.
But
That's
yeah, aliens. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah.
Also, I want to see where the sexual tension with the AI on the ship goes.
Oh God.
I don't know if it's that kind of book there, bro.
It's got a lot of arms, I'm just
Oh
saying,
God.
it could do things.
It
It's got
was shaving
tubes.
him. It was.
It
Yeah.
was shaving him. What else
Yep.
was it shaving?
Oh jeez.
You
Oh
know?
my god.
It was stimulating him with electrodes to keep those muscles like
Mhm.
buffed and ready.
It's
All
true.
muscles.
That catheter didn't place itself. All right.
Oh my. Nor did the what was it? FES?
Oh, the fecal management system,
Yeah.
fondly called the
The
deep
FMS.
poopers.
The poop shoot.
I'll say the least realistic part of this whole chapter was a school teacher eating a steak dinner every week. It just
Ha!
broke my immersion.
With his friend.
Maybe it's the really cheap steak dinner, you know?
Yeah.
Not in San
Like-
Francisco.
Seemed like a diner. Didn't
It's-
they say it was like a
Yeah.
It's the
I'm
Applebee's
imagining.
microwave steaks.
Yeah, I'm imagining like the Waffle House quality, like steak dinner kind of deal.
Yeah.
I mean, because teachers in San Francisco get paid more than,
I guess
say,
that's
teachers
true.
in Kansas and Kentucky. But I
Mhm.
The cost of
mean,
living is
he's got to have
so
some kind
crazy.
of like, like friends apartment situation going on. Like maybe
Yeah.
he's living in his grandma's like rent controlled apartment because
Yeah. That he inherited in a will or Yep.
otherwise, like, hell no. I've been there, man.
What if he just
Ugh.
spends all his money on the steak and that's why he's eating the half frozen
Living.
spaghetti
Yep.
the rest of the time?
I mean,
Yeah,
fresh
it's just it's his one good meal. The rest of it's like frozen dinners and ramen.
Yeah.
I mean, fresh spaghetti is $2, so
Yeah.
True.
Well, okay, I think it's like $3.50 at this
You
point.
get yourself some Prego, you get yourself some box of dollar noodles.
Mm.
Meat if you're feeling fancy.
All right. Any other thoughts, comments on chapter 2?
I haven't heard Marlon talk at all. Marlon, you there? You muted?
What's up?
Okay, there he is.
He chilling. Probably preening his
Okay.
fins or something. All right. Okay. Chapter 3. Page 34 to 53. So, our main character remembers the day he got involved with the Petrova problem. After teaching, he was approached to help analyze what Project Arc Light was bringing back. The woman knew all about his previous publications and why he left academia, but he laughs her off. As he is walking off, she says helping wasn't optional, and she was right. Ryland Grace, RMC, is somewhat kidnapped and taken to a fancy lab where the woman from before, Eva Stratt, greets him. They chat about how the dots might be some kind of life form eating the sun's energy. She insists he is the man to do the preliminary testing and to be there when the samples arrive. Ryland comes back to the present and is ecstatic to remember his name. He goes into the laboratory's ceiling hatch and is in a command room with tons of monitors. It appears the angular anomaly is self-correcting. He does another experiment to gather information on the nearby star, and now he is moving, or in how he is moving in relation to it, but it will take an hour, so he tries remembering more while he waits. He has a flashback to his first day in the lab with the sample. He worked in an argon-filled room wearing a hazmat suit. He learns the dots are extremely heat-resistant and only light up when moving. They determine the dots are something like space algae and energy from the sun is their food source. Ryland calls them astrophage. Ryland returns to the present, his mind buzzing over the term astrophage. An hour has passed, and he concludes his experiment. He is in a totally different solar system. Okay, Marlon, what is your question?
My question was, how did everybody feel about discovering that the Petrova line was actually alive and an alien life potentially eating the sun? For
It's
me,
so cool.
Yeah, I
That's
found
kind of sick.
it fascinating, because like everybody generally thinks of aliens as like Roger from American Dad, and the concept of like an alien life being such like a simple life form feels true to what would be discovered. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's not a little green man from Mars, even though this is eminently more terrifying.
Yeah. Or something
I,
like that movie Life. That fucking thing, whatever that thing was.
Mm.
The one that
Yeah.
like
Oh man, I
eats.
love that movie.
That was fucking terrifying. I'm glad it's not that.
Yeah.
I had a question kind of along the same lines as what Marlon was saying was, have you guys ever really thought, like before this book, thought about alien life just existing in the vacuum of space,
Yes.
like not requiring a planet to be on?
Yes.
I had never
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
thought about just stuff that was resistant to the vacuum of space. Maybe because
Yeah.
it's so
mean,
deadly to humans and
yeah,
life as
you've-
we know it.
Yeah. Have you all ever heard of water bears or
Yeah.
I was
yeah.
thinking about
Mhm.
them. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tardigrades.
Mhm.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
they can if I'm remembering my like history and shit in science papers, they can survive in the vacuum of space
Can
up
they?
to a certain point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
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 They don't need as much oxygen, so they can survive
Yeah.
for a bit.
I think it's also
So,
it's
yeah.
terribly cold too and full of radiation. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just
So,
incredibly
like-
hard to kill, I think.
Yeah. So like it if things on terrestrial Earth are able to survive in like briefly in the vacuum of space, we find bacteria and other like life forms in the like steam vents deep beneath the ocean. Like
Mm. Extremophiles.
yeah, shit
Erica,
can live
get
in
out of my
space.
brain.
it does say tardigrades can live indefinitely in a vacuum, but it doesn't account for the other things in space that could
Yeah.
also affect.
Yeah.
But it is
yeah.
also pretty temperature resistant as well. But yeah, that's super interesting. Super interesting.
Yeah. Hasn't there been meteors that had that landed on here that had evidence of potential life on them, but nothing like conclusive? Just like it had the elements
Yeah,
that
like
could support life.
the right ingredients and stuff. I think so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's I think it's Io is one of Jupiter's moons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one is completely covered in ice, but miles below the surface are like incredibly active volcanoes, and in
Oh,
between
okay.
there is water.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then there's Europa, which is just ocean under a bunch of ice. They think there's life there too.
Yep.
Think,
Yeah.
You would
obviously.
like hypothesize and theorize. There, yeah,
Yeah.
They
yeah,
threw a satellite at it. Actually, I don't think it's there yet, though.
yeah. It's on its way.
Yeah. And Mars has dried up lake beds as well.
Yep.
that-
Yeah,
Or
and
what
like
appear
dried
to
up
be lake
polar
beds.
ice caps,
Mhm.
like or
Mhm.
the remnants of them. Yeah.
Mhm. And like canyons and stuff. I think that it could
Yeah.
potentially show like
Like there's
ancient
evidence
flooding.
of erosion.
Mhm.
Yeah, like erosion from water and shit
Mhm.
that you can see.
Of course, now I think it doesn't have much of an atmosphere, so it's unable to hold water in the same way. But
Mhm.
honestly, it's been a long time since I've looked into that stuff.
Mars
think
also
that
has extreme temperatures too. Night
Mhm.
and
from
day.
my
Crazy.
vague, half-assed research of this, that I'm also half-assing, vaguely remembering, Mars didn't have enough gravity to hold on to its atmosphere, so it lost it, and then
Okay.
so did everything else.
Okay. Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh man, I was halfway through my thesis paper and I
Damn
was
it.
citing it.
No. See, I already like half carved it into stone. Just
Yeah. What
don't
do I
worry
tell
about
this
it.
ancient civilization I just gave all these tablets to?
They'll figure it out. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Return the slab. Okay. Any other thoughts and comments about this chapter?
not this chapter. It's actually next chapter, but answers Marlon's question. I
Mhm.
mean, I really enjoyed the aspect of the small microbes
Mhm.
and like that being alien life, and specifically how Andy Weir was able to tie all the physics into it, and like,
Yeah.
this is, the mass
Make it real.
conversion, this makes
Yeah.
energy. And then even the plot holes he addresses, well, yeah, this wave of length, but they're only 10 microns. Like, how
Mhm.
does that make
Mhm.
sense? It's like, oh, yeah, how does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. The utilization of scientific knowledge is pretty accurate, and I kind of love that so far. Like,
Oh,
Yes.
it
Yeah.
is? Okay, cool. I wasn't gonna do my
So
research and cite
I
sources and shit.
I did look it up a little bit. Well, not like this book specifically, but like that is
Mm,
like his thing where he tries to make it as scientifically accurate as he can.
yeah, that's
Obviously,
like what
he's
The
an
Martian
author.
does.
Yeah. So like he tries, which means the stuff that he does have to make up sounds better or we're more
Yeah,
willing to believe it because he does a good enough job at the other stuff. Like I'm
Mhm.
yeah.
sure he's wrong on some of it. I'm not a fucking physicist, but
The calculations are all accurate. I mean, what's happening in
yeah,
the events, that's where there's going to be
you
liberties.
can check his math.
Mhm.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I did learn that I had no idea that in a vacuum, light can produce, propulsion. I wasn't aware of
Yeah,
that.
I didn't know that
How the
either.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
so
that was it.
that was
interesting.
kind of nuts. And I looked it up, and yeah, 100%. It's like it's like minuscule propulsion, but it's enough that you could measure it,
Yeah,
which
it's
is
pretty
pretty
awesome.
crazy.
Yeah, and also, yeah, it just adds to the, like I said, this feels like it could be real. Like this feels like it's a
Mhm.
microbe that probably exists somewhere in the universe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some kind, it makes sense to me. Vacuum of space
Yep.
algae. Don't see why not. Um,
Star eating microbes. This is some Star Trek shit.
yeah, oh yeah. And then also, I think this is the chapter too where. Oh wait, no, I don't think it's this one. I think it's the next one. I'll save it. Okay. Any other thoughts, comments on this chapter? All right. We continue on to chapter 4, page 54 through 74. So, Ryland spends some time panicking about being alone in a different solar system. He locates a diagram of the ship and familiarizes himself uh, with the different parts of the ship. He focuses on the term spin drive, but nothing happens. He sees astrophage are being stored on the ship, and the temperature in those areas is 96.415 degrees Celsius. And this number triggers a memory of the day he discovered that the ambient temperature of astrophage is 96 degrees C, almost the boiling point of water. Ryland encourages Strat to let other, better labs start studying the astrophage, but she says they have to make sure it's not deadly first, via him. Ryland continues working and decides to poke an astrophage with a nano syringe, and it goes transparent and dies. It has organelles and all the usual indicators of living things, on Earth anyway. He collects the lysed cell and finds it contains carbon, nitrogen, and lots of hydrogen and oxygen, i.e., water, meaning these were not waterless life forms as he had hypothesized. Ryland returns to the present and goes to the storage room. He finds a jumpsuit uniform to wear, and he also dresses his fallen crew in their uniforms and gives them a space burial. The woman was a Russian named Olisaya Ilukina, and the man was Yao Liji, their Chinese commander. He mourns and slips into another memory. Ryland had concluded his lab work and returned to teaching, but barely lasted 20 minutes. He knew he had to do whatever he could to try to save the future for these kids, and that meant continuing his research. He rushes back to the lab and convinces Strat to leave him 3 astrophages of the 173 and keep the lab open. He returns to the present and is looking at different things in the command room. Between the fuel left and the presence of unmanned probes called the Beetles, he is convinced he will not ever return home, and this is likely a suicide mission. All right, Andy, what is your question?
So I had 2 questions. Were you guys shocked to discover that they're using the astrophage as fuel for this ship?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I was surprised. It's a great. It's such a cool idea. Such a cool
Yeah.
idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Considering how
I
much
thought it was really
energy
cool.
they store,
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah.
makes sense, I guess.
Mhm. And then
I am
sorry, go ahead.
curious about his oh, this is a suicide mission, and I'm just like, you just spent the first 3/4 of this chapter figuring out how they breed, and it actually doesn't sound very hard to do. So get that pessimism out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, it
Yeah.
just doesn't seem like that kind of story to me.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was going to be my second question to everybody
Mhm.
is, are they shocked to find out that he believes he is on a suicide mission,
I don't.
alone?
I'm not surprised that that's a conclusion he came to. I feel like after seeing your only 2 other crewmates dead, and you are so far from Earth, I can see where he got to that conclusion, but this guy wrote The Martian, and they were able to get that guy home. He doesn't seem like
True.
he doesn't.
True.
He doesn't seem like the kind to like pull that kind of shit.
Look.
Especially like if you take in consideration the name of the book, Project Hail Mary, like it would be a Hail Mary for him to get home, and that would be a nice way to wrap it up. And yeah.
Yeah. That was my third
Clearly,
question is,
Andy
do you think he'll
Weir
get back?
Clearly,
Yeah.
Andy Weir doesn't exist in this AU, and therefore he never watched The Martian. So he just doesn't. So he just
Exactly.
doesn't have this.
He doesn't have the
knowledge.
context,
Yeah.
He's not looking at. He doesn't have the actual like objective picture of what's going on.
So I was gonna like tally it up. Who thinks that our main character will survive?
Survive or get back
I-
home?
Get back home or survive. I mean, which
Think
whichever.
he will live.
We don't know.
Yep.
Who
I
thinks
think
he's gonna live in
survive.
some
I think he's
capacity?
going to survive, but I still don't know enough to comment on whether he can make it home or not. Like I
Yeah.
don't think he's going to die. I think like they could just, refuel the astrophage, like re-enrich them, you know what I mean? Like they don't even need more, just refill the ones they've got.
Yeah.
But there's still a ton of questions I have. Like we don't know how much time has passed. It could literally have been like 1,000 years or something. Like the time scale of how far from the launch of Project Mary he is now. Like I don't know that, and it also seems like the story is maybe avoiding drawing attention to it. So I'm wondering if it's something crazy, like a really long time, and
Mhm.
and everything's already happened.
Yeah, like some kind of who's is everybody good with spoilers for Interstellar? Like, has everybody watched Interstellar?
I've seen
Well,
it.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, because
You should watch it.
yeah,
by the
what
way.
if it was
on
some
Netflix?
kind of Interstellar kind of thing? Those who know, you know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's like what if that could happen? So I'm very curious to see what the outcome of this is. I'm very very excited.
I
It would be
have
interesting.
kind of a lot of thoughts about this, but it also involves knowledge we learn in chapter 5.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Any other thoughts or comments on chapter 4 then?
I had one. Part of when I was reading this, I was like a little disconnected from the main character. Like, why the hell is a school teacher, getting access and privilege? Yeah, he wrote a paper years ago, but why is he being the first one to interact with alien life? And then like, oh, it's so they
It's
keep
the guinea
the actual
pigs.
smart people safe.
I thought that was a nice
Yeah.
touch of like,
I
okay,
was-
all right, that does feel like something
little
that they would
guinea
do.
pig.
He knows
I
how to
wasn't
use the
thinking of-
instruments but is expendable compared to everyone else. So
I wasn't thinking of the sacrificial lamb aspect. I was more thinking about the first teacher who unfortunately did not make it into outer space.
oh god.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking more of the parallels to that, even though like that this is not the time to send a teacher up into space for funsies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, knowing the training that astronauts go through, that aspect seems a little far fetched, but at the same time, it's like you can't nitpick everything about a book where you don't have a book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be some things that you just like suspend your disbelief a little bit.
Also, it's like
Yeah.
a life or death scenario. Like everybody will die if they don't solve this problem, you know? So maybe
Yeah.
the rules that normally would apply are just not considered.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay. The last chapter of this reading, chapter 5, page 74 to 99. So, in a flashback, Ryland sets out to figure out what makes the astrophage move. He builds a special dark closet and tests various types of lights, but no luck until he tries the spectral signature of Venus, which is also carbon dioxide. And the astrophage jolts off of the slide. Ryland MacGyvers some infrared goggles to let him see temperature and thankfully located all the astrophage, plus one. He barely sleeps and obsessively observes the light reactive behavior for days. He concludes this is the astrophage life cycle. Astrophage gather energy on the sun, then follow the sun's magnetic pole north so that the sun's brightness doesn't obscure Venus. When it sees Venus's carbon dioxide spectral signature, it uses its stored energy to emit light and propel itself to Venus. Then the astrophage collect CO2 and reproduce. He reports this to Strat, and shortly after, he is escorted from the lab to begin a long journey. Helicopters, jeeps, jets, Ryland was on them all, and he finally arrives on a Chinese aircraft carrier. He enters a room of important people and explains to them how the astrophage life cycle works. They hypothesize breeding facilities and doubling times, and then it's time for the important people to talk privately. Ryland reluctantly heads off to sleep. The next day, everyone reconvenes, and Ryland is granted top secret clearance and told about Project Hail Mary. Basically, they'd found a trail of infection moving across other stars, but one star, Tau Ceti, was not infected when it should be. Project Hail Mary is sending a ship to Tau Ceti to find out how it resists infection. They plan to use the astrophages as fuel. They assign Ryland the task of designing an astrophage breeding facility to create fuel for the ship. All right, Adrian, what question have you brought?
Okay. So, they just discovered this life form. They admit in this meeting that it could be catastrophic if it detonated. Yet they immediately want to turn it into a fuel source and actively engage in exploding it to get to another solar system. My thought is, why are they so quickly jumping to utilize it as a resource when they just learned that it could reproduce, but also know that it could detonate like an atom bomb? So
Say they're
Why did
throwing a
we
Hail
decide to
Mary.
build
Mm-hmm.
why did we decide to build giant robots to fight sea monsters? Like, you know.
listen,
True.
the kaiju are a serious issue. Okay.
Why did we build
Honestly,
giant
like,
robots to fight each other out in space? Like
I'm
It was
glad that they're not being just, yeah, America about
yeah.
this, and that they're
America, fuck
bringing in the
yes.
others.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the solution of let's use this as fuel is something that is feels very distinctly American.
Yeah.
True.
Even though it was the Russian that seemed, or
Even
the
though it was
Russians
the
and the
Russian.
Germans, who was like, "Yeah, can we use it as fuel? You know, can we blow it up?"
Yep.
Yeah, I was just like, does anybody else think that? You know, obviously it worked out. He got where he needed to go. You know, we know that, but still, like the fact that they so quickly jumped to that once they realized it could be reproduced and it was full of energy.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, all right, it's fuel. It's the only
Yep.
way we're gonna get there, so let's just use it. You know,
I mean, I guess that
they
is
had
the
no
thing.
other.
It is the only way that they would get there
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
no, human fuel technology is good enough to, achieve whatever speed for long enough to
Mhm.
get a spaceship to a different star in a relevant time frame, basically.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Which is essentially what they're doing. So it's like, if you can't come up with something like that, why not just use that?
Hmm
I think the holy grail for space travel has always been, energy conversion, antimatter, matter, 100% conversion. And I
Yeah.
think, instantly as scientists in the situation, you're like, oh, there's this thing that almost 100% converts energy and matter. Like,
Mhm.
oh shit, we've been
Yep.
looking for this for decades.
hmm
And
I
so I think
feel
that's probably where
like
they jumped to it right away.
by the time
Yep.
Rylan gets back, because again, I do not think they are going. I okay, I give it like a 10% chance that he goes out heroically,
Oh God.
but I'm pretty sure he's gonna come back fine.
Yeah.
And
My.
how far away did they say Tau Centi was?
I don't think they said it, but I mean,
I
if
feel
Oh,
that's
like
a real
they
star,
they
can we
did.
look
It
it
was
up?
11.9
9.
light years away. Is that
It's
what they said?
something a
Oh,
junior high
shit.
teacher would know.
Yeah, he just
Yeah.
happened to know that.
Yeah.
This comes up
Yeah.
often.
So, in that case, if he's there, and this is like
Oh
just
fuck!
now
You're right. Pull
clicking,
out
and it
out the calculator. Okay, so it
that's
says how
literally
fast.
no,
what I'm
It
so
says
doing
how fast
right
they're
so
now.
going.
they go 0.92 light year. Like they're almost 1 light year,
Just under
just under
13
it.
years to get there.
Oh, is that what they said?
Yeah.
That's the math that I just did.
All right.
Well,
So they said that
that
the fuel goes at 0.92, and then they said that the star was 11.9 away, and we're just gonna do the math.
that's for Ryland. For everyone else, it'll take longer.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm,
So they said, if I remember the other numbers correctly, that they would be fucked and go into an ice age in about 30
30
years.
years.
mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Honestly, I'm kind of curious what they're doing with the astrophage because they're not just sitting on that stuff back on Earth. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this shit eats carbon dioxide. I guess we figured out the answer to climate change.
Yeah. My concern was, they create the ship. They talk about having secret quote unquote alien ships ready to go already for this. What if something catastrophic were to happen with the ship? What if it explodes and you have, what is it, hundreds upon thousands of kilograms of this astrophage in there, and then that
Mhm.
suddenly is unleashed in our solar system, drastically increasing the numbers that are out there, sucking the energy from the sun?
Mhm.
And we already
Yeah.
know that if they explode, if they get heated, cooled, whatever, they're fine. They have to just be penetrated with, some type of physical trauma to die. So what that could exponentially increase the rate at which the sun is being drained. No, that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what's the risk? It's going to
They're
happen
gonna die
anyways.
anyways.
What's the
Yeah.
risk? Yeah,
It's
What,
true.
you
increase
just take it.
the deadline, like, or
Meh.
like.
Well, so this reminds me. They mentioned that none of the infected stars go below a 10% decrease in luminosity.
Mhm.
What the hell do you guys think that means? Like they don't
um
just suck the star dry or the solar system
Yeah.
dry.
Yeah.
They
Well,
only
so
take 10%. Why? What does that mean?
Yeah. I
I,
their
also wondered that.
it makes me
energy
wonder if
storage.
it's something about the like composition of most stars. Like I don't know enough about this to have an informed opinion, but
What if they're being
is there a
farmed
material
farmed
is
and
there a
collected?
Ooh.
material that makes up roughly
Yeah.
10% of most stars composition, and maybe they're just running out of that specific thing? Or maybe,
Mhm.
yeah, like you said, maybe they're farming it and they're waiting for it to regenerate.
Yeah, so I think that if we're not looking at it from like what is the sun made up of, but rather from a like a more fauna side of things, talking about them being animals, I think it's the same thing that the reason why you see um like mountain lions and wolves don't completely like decimate a population of
Hmm.
like the herbivores and their prey in an area. It's about like keeping a balance and an equilibrium. Elsewise, they would kill them all, eat them all, and then they would also die.
Yeah.
It's just they don't realize that 10% decrease for us would spell absolute destruction for
Yeah.
humanity.
All the other
Like,
ones are uninhabited as far as we know.
yeah, true.
I'm very curious about what Earth is doing to prepare, because like, okay, I've looked at forums for like preppers and stuff just
Mhm.
because I'm curious about how they think.
Yeah,
And
of
like
course.
there are ways that you can like store food for like 30 plus years. So I'm just like, are they just like globally stockpiling all this shit? Like
Mhm. What?
how many Mylar bags and like are these guys, because that's one of the way that you can preserve food for very long is you put in these Mylar bags, you throw in those little packets that soak up all the oxygen, and then you seal it. And then you can keep, I don't know, your rice good for like 30 years or something.
Hmm.
And then you've got all of these crazy like survival food companies. Like it's very fascinating because it
Yeah.
definitely it's definitely marketed towards a very specific type of conspiracy theorists.
Mm-hmm.
But these companies, like, they've actually kept their food for like 30 years and they're still edible and safe 30 years
Yeah.
later, some of them even longer. But
It is pretty
unfortunate,
incredible.
which, it's just like, so the story is about Ryland, and I'm assuming they're at Tau Centi or wherever, because where else would they send him? But I
Getting
really want to know
close.
what's going. I really want to know what's going on at Earth right now.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, we're talking about all the, you know, like what a huge technological advancement it is that the astrophage can trans transform energy to matter, and then vice
Yep.
versa. I'm just like, maybe the astrophage will be the best thing that ever happened to Earth. I mean, what couldn't they do with an energy source like that? They could make an
infinite
artificial
energy source.
atmosphere or something. I mean, they could
Yep.
have endless fields
Terraforming
of
and-
greenhouses, if it's too cold in that, like
Yes.
I'm just imagining all kinds of like technological advancements would be possible on Earth with something like this. And but yeah, I don't know, I still like the 10% thing. Like, so far, the astrophage don't seem to be thinking too hard about 10% or whatever. Like, they busted the light bulb and stuff. So it's like, it begs the question, because there's a solar system that's not affected. I don't know if anybody
In the
else is
black.
wondering, are there high-tech aliens there? And they're
Where
farming.
he
Uh-huh.
is.
They're farming the astrophage. They're
Well-
sending the astrophage other places,
Yeah.
letting them fuel up and collecting
Yeah.
them and protecting their own
True.
star.
So true.
I
What?
wasn't thinking about that
Or
angle. I was just thinking about, and this kind of goes back to the question that was asked about chapter 4. I think that whatever is protecting Tau Centi, I think that's also somehow going to be how he gets home and how he survives this.
It'd say there was an unlikely like friendship or something that happens, at least in the synopsis.
Oh.
I,
So
I bet
Ooh, do
one
we
of
think it's
his
aliens or computers?
I bet one of his students
Alien computers.
comes to save him.
Really?
what?
Because
That would be cool. That'd be
because of
cute.
Would be nice.
time dilation.
Oh, fuck.
It'll definitely be Abby.
If it's
Okay,
anybody,
it's
it's
Poor
Abby.
Abby.
okay, if it's, so he said junior high, so like what, 7th, 8th graders? But he
Yeah,
said
6th,
sixth
7th, 8th,
period.
yeah.
The
So
time dilation
he's like
for
14 plus 13.
the
Okay,
time
that's
dilation
kind of pushing it, but let's
for 11.9 years at 0.9 to C is 30 years. So 30 years passed on Earth while he was traveling to Tau Ceti.
Yeah.
I mean, that is kind of an interstellar situation, because in Interstellar, they traveled longer than, the issue at hand was going to take to ruin Earth,
Yeah,
So,
literally seconds on that planet. Oh, just never mind. I remember some people haven't seen it. Oh, never mind. Anyways, time dilation is a thing. It's a very cool
Yeah.
thing.
No, one
Yeah.
thing
And oh, go ahead, Geraint.
I say this is unrelated, but one thing that was glossed over in the summary was at the very beginning of the chapter that it has, similar biochemical makeup to normal life on Earth with DNA and I don't know, ribosomes or whatever else they mentioned.
Mitochondria
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
is the
Yeah.
powerhouse of the cell.
Oh.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember that. Yeah, I think what if it is the like initial stages of a life form that's in Tau City? What if it's their babies? And then this is like some type of like energy gathering pilgrimage that these microbes take to grow into their full adult sizes back on their home planet.
Maybe. I mean, they are replicating
Nobody likes it.
and
Fine. That's cool.
having their own life cycle. But maybe. I mean, I feel like Tau Ceti is the origin of them in some way.
Near the center.
Because why would they destroy their own star?
Yeah.
There could be a dumb explanation though, like, hey, there's no planet that has high CO2
Oh, that's so
concentration.
true. Yeah, they
Yeah.
just don't have
Yeah.
like a Mars equivalent or something there. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then it's like, well, shit, we came here for nothing.
Yeah.
Well, they said they were going from the sun to Venus, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, Venus equivalent, sorry.
They get energy on the
Thinking
sun
of the
and then they
moon.
go to Venus for the CO2.
Okay, all they need to
Ah,
do is
right.
just blow up Venus. I've got it.
Mhm.
No more Venus food for the astrophage. Perfect.
Wait, isn't that where women are from, Venus?
Well.
Don't worry
They-
about it.
You are
I-
very
Hold
so,
right.
on.
so wait, if
But then boys
if
are from
Geraint
Jupiter.
Oh.
says that 30 years may have passed on Earth while he's on his way to Tau Ceti, then what if Ryland gets back? If he does get back, and everything's in the Ice Age already, but they're using the astrophage, like how you said, Toaster, like
Yeah.
they're using the astrophage to like live because it's
Yeah.
warm.
Well, that's kind of
like it-
interstellary too, right? Like he
Yeah,
gets back, but
yeah.
they've figured it out. They've gone
Yeah,
elsewhere.
they
Yeah.
figured it out.
Well,
They're
I
like,
think
we're in
that
harmony, symbiotic relationship with astrophage. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel
while
like
I
that's likely
think that's
too.
possible, I should note that when I did the math on the 13 years earlier, that was from Earth's perspective. So that's like, I think, granted, there is going to be like some like velocity loss and all of that. But
yeah,
they should only be 13 years out, which would put them at roughly 26 of their 30-year timeline.
But I mean, the
yeah. I
corpses
was
of
using
his
the math Geraint
crewmates,
came up with.
the corpses of his crewmates are completely desiccated. It has
Yeah.
to at
Mummified.
least, yeah, that has to be what, at least 10 years. So yeah,
You'd
13 makes
think.
sense.
Necessarily, it can be less than that.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
maybe the
we
capsule dries them
don't
out
know
too.
when in we also don't know when in the story that they died. Like they could have died like
True.
3 days after they left, or maybe they held on for a couple of years. Who knows?
Well, one of
Yeah.
them still had the IV hole in their arm. I
Well,
don't
just
know if
because it
that's
wouldn't
indicative.
heal after they took the
Yeah.
robot took it out after they died, so no more healing when you're
Oh,
dead.
true.
Yeah.
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 So
Very interesting.
some
Makes you
people think
wonder
it's
about the
go ahead.
atmosphere inside of the pod that they're being kept
Mm-hmm.
in. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, a body doesn't just mummify, like
Yeah.
it
Very sterile and
turns
very
into soup,
dry, I
you know?
assume. Like vacuum sealed in there almost,
Yep.
like when it detected that they died,
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah.
Now, did everybody else's? I don't know how many of us got the hardcover.
Mhm.
Did everybody's book have the diagram of the ship at the start of the book?
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, ooh, that's so nice. I love me some
Yeah.
diagrams and maps in my books.
I was like, I wish I understood this, but nice.
Now
Yeah.
we do.
Actually,
Yeah. So now we
actually,
actually
most
know
of it
where
wasn't
he's
bad,
going
but
when he's going throughout the ship, which
Mhm.
is kind of cool.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. I really hope it gives us. Surely it will in the next reading. Tell us exactly how long it's been,
Yeah.
because it's it seems like maybe the speed of the ship is intermittently changing, so it's hard to know, like, how fast or slow it's been going, so it's hard to know
Yeah,
exactly
it's true.
where on the journey.
True.
Because it seems
Yeah.
like it's maybe whatever star it's going around right now, it's maybe utilizing, like, the gravity of that star to, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
To get some oomph.
Mhm.
So, if it's done that a few times, I'm sure there's slower times, faster times. So yeah, it's just like hard to know without them telling us. What does everybody think? How long do you guys think he will have been in there?
I think at least 15 years. I think it's going to be like halfway. Personally.
I'm going to guess
Sounds
a
about
long
right.
time. I'm just
Yeah, I
going to
feel like
guess a
Yeah, I
long
guess a
going
long
time.
over 10
time.
And that the
years,
plot is
but
going to not center around him being able to figure out the fix. I think like it's going to be, yeah, like we talked about earlier, interstellary, where he, comes back and they've sort
Yeah.
of got things figured out. I feel like maybe he's been gone a really long time.
I mean, he also
20,
did
30,
mention
40,
that
50 years or something.
the more astrophage burned, the faster he moves because there's less mass on the ship. So
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
possible they calculated that into the trip, and so he maybe arrived at an already adjusted time, but we don't know that yet. He hasn't recovered those memories as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there's any I mean, I don't know how that would be kept, like, tracked, like,
Well, calculations and I guess
yeah, calculations and
predictions.
stuff. But if there could be like a calculations of some sort on the ship to determine like what it would be like, but I don't know what other factors would affect that. I'm no physicist. I don't know.
I mean, you just got to break that sexual tension with the AI so that we can get a little bit more
Yeah, so you can get the inside
information.
scoop. The inside
Yeah.
scoop.
Mhm.
He's gonna open
Slightly
up a
less
cabinet,
inside.
and there's gonna be a shrine to him. The
Oh
AI's
God.
like worshipped him the whole time, like Helga.
Oh Lord.
I'm gonna say, I'll just say 50 years. Adrian guessed 15. Any other guesses about how long he's been in a coma?
With the distance of Tau Centi, the speed that we know he can get there, and the
But we don't know about
rough
the
timeline of
fluctuations in acceleration and all that.
and the rough timelines of humanity's doom, I think he'll play it pretty close so that we can have a nice, stop the bomb 5 second or 1 second before it goes off
Yeah.
kind of moment.
So you think 15 as well?
Mhm.
15 years?
Yeah.
I'm saying 13 to 15 years.
Yeah.
Like
I'm gonna go
yeah.
on a limb and say 20, at least 20. 20 to 25.
Okay.
I don't know. That's
All
my
right.
guess.
There's also the likelihood of an ending where it is like a comeback home, and it's gone. It's done.
Oh
Earth is
fuck, that's
destroyed.
true.
That'd
That's
be
true.
too
That would be-
depressing.
Oh Jesus.
It'd be too depressing, but it'd fit in line with a sci-fi book ending and
Yeah, that's
sci-fi
It would
ending.
Yeah.
fit, but I don't think that tends to be Andy Ware's MO. Granted, my only experience with him is The Martian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe we'll get some
Which is
kind
a
of,
hopeful story.
maybe a happy ending
Which
of
is
some
yeah.
kind.
But I mean, statistically, like most sci-fi movies that start out the way that it does, like the book portrays it as, it's usually like the Earth's already done for.
Yeah. It
So,
could go both ways. It could be
yeah.
like he tries everything he's like, I figured out how to solve it, gets back and there's nothing to
late.
solve.
Yeah.
Or there,
Mm.
yeah, there's nothing to solve, or we're so like far advanced into everything else on Earth that you're
Yeah.
just kind of behind. So
Mhm.
that's just guessing on how most sci-fis start. Is it's
Yeah.
already ended, or they're already too far advanced, and he's already missed the deadline for whatever he's working on. They've already figured it out.
Mm-hmm. So
I have optimism. I'm optimistic that it's not going to end that way.
Oh, I'm optimistic as well, but I'm just prepared
Yeah.
for
You're
all
braced.
uh-huh.
inevitabilities that are there.
I mean, it could only be like a couple months that he's up there, or maybe like 5 years time. But
So This isn't a spoiler, but it might be. I just googled, Reddit with what's the time dilation for Project Hail Mary, and some Redditor did all the math. If you plug in a constant acceleration 1.5 Gs, for what he does, he's like, this is how long it'll take for him versus on Earth. Do you guys want those numbers?
So this person
No.
this person had to calculate them. They're not given in the book.
Correct. He just plugged in the 1.5 Gs for the 11.9 light year journey and how much that means for Earth versus him.
I don't mind, I guess.
I want to hear it.
No.
I want it.
Okay.
I think Marlon said no.
Alright.
It
I'll just
was-
say
Here
I'm
you
God,
go.
as
Here you
well.
go. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Hold
Wait,
on.
Geraint,
Go.
DM me.
Ah!
There you go.
or
yeah.
you could just
And then we
save
can
it
revisit
for
them
when
later.
the book actually tells us, and we could based on the math, it's this.
Okay.
Does it agree with what the book, if it
Yeah.
says?
How
or
how
something?
much
True,
artistic
true.
liberty did he
Yeah,
take
you know
with
what?
this?
Yeah, let's wait, I guess.
Okay, I won't
I-
say anything.
I have a question that's not related, but kind of related because this is like the first book that we have that deals with like sci-fi and space travel. If this stuff existed, right? Like, let's say if Star Trek was real, right?
Boo.
If we
I'm sorry.
had, well, if we had the capacity to travel to different, complete galaxies or solar system, whatever, would you guys do stuff like that? Would you choose, like, if it was as common as just, joining up in the military,
If it was safe,
Space
sure.
Force.
like Star Trek, would you guys do that?
Also, somebody messaged Marlon that he can come back in.
Oh,
Fuck.
oh yeah, true.
Marlon's just in the corner going la 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 la.
And that's why it takes 2,000 years.
I don't know. Like, I think Earth is really cool.
Space
But,
seems
like-
pretty cool, floating
But
around.
space is also
weightless.
really cool.
What I would
It would
want.
be hard because there's so many things I want to see about Earth. But there's also a lot of things I want to know about space too.
I mean, for me, I kind of want to see I would say yes, but it depends on how far advanced our knowledge is, or our ships
Yeah.
as far as it can. It
would have to be
I
safe
wouldn't go
and
in it.
fast.
I wouldn't go into if it was a suicide mission. Like if I
Yeah.
if I knew it wasn't gonna come. Yeah.
I mean,
no.
essentially, imagine if I don't know if you guys have seen Star Trek or anything, but that's kind of like where I'm going off this. Like, imagine there are, like, we've already, let's say, I guess, like, made contact with other species or other alien life forms, and
Mhm.
we have humongous freaking ships that, it's like it's common as buses, like freighting people back and forth to different galaxies, like, and it's as common as joining the military here on Earth.
Yeah.
Would you
And
guys
people
do that?
And people still seem to have, family members and
Yeah,
kids
yeah, they
that
do.
don't live with them on the ships and they
Mhm.
don't deal with the weird time dilation stuff. So you don't have to worry about
Eh.
that. That would make it more palatable, I think.
Yeah, I think it depends if you're warping space time like Star Trek, or just
Mhm.
trying to go really fast like other ways of space travel.
Well, I mean, I guess you could take it in two forms, because let's say warping was a factor. Would you join up? Or if warping wasn't a factor, but it would take you 11 years to get back to your family, would you still do it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, would you take that chance, or, just to
Mm.
explore space? That's what I'm asking.
I feel like I'd have to
Yeah,
go
I-
with my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
let's say
it
you
would
could take
just
your
be
family with you, maybe.
within the solar system space journeys or something.
I think I want to go on a space vacation. I don't think I want it as like a space job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
I would
makes sense.
I would prefer a Stargate method of space travel.
Okay, Stargate's
Yeah.
pretty cool too. Yeah.
And you walk through a Stargate. Oh, I'm on Mars in this nice, already atmosphere controlled environment. That's dope. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't know about
obviously.
getting my. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say, yeah. Obviously, this stuff is like pushing the boundaries of what's actually possible or not, for sure. But like, suspend your disbelief in the rules of physics and science right now as we know it. You know what I mean? So.
I mean, it's like, do you want to be bent through a wormhole / deatomized, or do you want to fly through space, in a giant spaceship? Yeah, I guess
Mhm.
that's your two options.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I feel like I'd do it. I mean, obviously, like, I feel like it would suck to leave my
Yeah, it'd be
family,
cool.
but if I could take my family with me and
hmm
travel space, I think that would be pretty cool. I don't know.
Also, time travel is possible in Stargate. Just saying. I know
Mm.
stuff like that happens in Star Trek too. I know they have a
Yeah,
few
yeah.
of those episodes.
You just have to fly around the sun.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you just gotta fly into a black hole and hit a solar flare or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks, babe. I don't know if anybody heard that in the background, but
I did
Kyle
not.
just let out a gnarly burp.
That's good. His digestion's working.
Better out than in. All
It's
right.
all the space gases.
Babe, stop.
so what
Oh, God.
are so we've had a few theories on Tau Ceti's immunity. One, I think Geraint said maybe like it's really anticlimactic and they just don't have like a Venus equivalent planet there. And so it's like inhospitable to the astrophage. There could be a scenario where there's more advanced life forms like human or humanoid or something that have already protected that star. Um, what was the? What was it? I think there was another one. Maybe about far, like maybe that's their origin. So like the astrophage origin solar system or something, and so
hmm
maybe they're specifically not depleting that one. Anybody have any other theories about what?
Similar to the Venus theory, but since stars can be made out of different elements, maybe it just doesn't get as hot or it's missing something that the other stars have, but not necessarily missing Venus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's
Or
strange though
it
is,
has an extra element that the other ones don't, that it just happens to be inhospitable to them or whatever. Something like
but
that.
most
Maybe
stars are composed of the same thing though, right? For the most part.
Yeah, but in different
Mm.
amounts and
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how big and hot they get. They start what is it like nuclear fusion and stuff on larger and larger
yeah, so like
elements.
maybe
Geraint, you
5%
remember
of
his stuff?
What you said
like
was
maybe
correct.
5% of a specific element is fine, but you raise it to 10 or 15 of that specific element and then it's like no bueno.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough about space or our local star systems to even
Mm-hmm.
throw out a guess what material element that would be, if anything. Assuming you don't do the sci-fi thing where you just make something up.
Hopefully, he won't do that. He doesn't seem like he's done much of that so far. He's trying to make things realistic so far.
I don't mind made up stuff after the established, grounded things
Mm-hmm.
have, already described what's going on. If he eventually ends up in something that obviously is very sci-fi, I wouldn't mind that too much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any other final thoughts or comments on chapter 5 or just the reading as a whole?
How much
I really,
lube you think is on that ship?
How
oh my
much what?
god.
Oh,
What?
well, probably a lot for, they had
Oh, the
those
tubes?
poop systems in.
Oh.
Imagine the robots not putting them in dry, or at least you hope not.
Okay.
Oh, but it's a robot. It probably uses silicone based, which isn't good for humans. It should be using water
Okay.
based.
What if he
Yeah, I'm
goes
sorry. I'm just spitballing here.
remember okay, we're talking about like his unlikely friend that got mentioned on the back cover or whatever.
Uh,
What if he's just gone slightly crazy and it's just one of the Beatles?
oh
Like that
God,
he's
a
just
castaway.
Hey, man.
he starts talking to them.
It's me, Ringo.
I mean, he might start having mental effects of being completely alone. Honestly, that wouldn't be unrealistic. It'd be pretty realistic, to be
True.
honest.
Mm-hmm.
What was that Adam Sandler movie where he's an astronaut and he sees the giant spider?
Yeah. Oh, that movie's so good. I forget what it's called.
Oh,
It
I
just came
forget the
out.
title.
I need to watch that movie.
Oh,
I
it's
was
good.
thinking that going to be a similar situation to that, but I don't know how that movie ends and if it was real or not, which is what's implicated.
Yeah, I can't remember it, to be honest. I watched it. I was like, man, that was so good, but I can't remember how it ends. I could watch it again, probably.
Makes me want to watch something like that now reading this book.
Mm-hmm.
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 I've never seen The Martian. I just know kind of the gist of it. Like he grows plants on Mars, he survives there after
Mm-hmm.
running out of fuel and all that. I mean, makes potatoes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that movie was good.
Any other final thoughts, comments on chapter 5 or the reading as a whole?
I've really enjoyed the cliffhangers and like being misled. Like, oh shit, I thought that was the sun. He's in a fucking other star system.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm enjoying it's the writing is really well done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Easy
Yeah.
to understand for us people who aren't as scientifically adept.
Yeah.
And still keeps it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I also like that misdirect when he was trying to remember something else, and I was like, oh nope, didn't get anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, haha, nope, fuck you.
The spin
Don't know what
drive
the
or
fuck
whatever. It's
that
like, yeah,
is.
what's a spin drive? A spin drive. No. Nothing.
Yeah, I like the humor. There's also like a little bit of humor here and there. With the way he reacts to things, the terminologies he uses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Eh.
That could be Liberian. They still use the imperial system.
And he was like, what the fudge? Wait, why did it default to what the fudge? Do I have kids?
You like kids,
Yeah, that was like during that whole revelation.
Oh, I'm a
You know,
teacher,
when
thank
he's
God.
like, I definitely live in a bachelor apartment. There are no kids here. And I'm just like looking at my own apartment, like, fuck, I do live in a bachelor pad, don't I? You know what? Bye, guys. I need to go buy myself a rug.
Yeah, as long as you don't have a shelf full of all the alcohol you've drank,
Oh
I
God.
don't
I think you're
actually
fine.
like alcohol that much, so
Very
I'm safe
sticky
there.
shelf.
Yeah, it's like
I'm
this is the
collecting
bottle of
them, you
Patron I drank
guys.
last
I'm
month
collecting these
at
Arizona cans.
Brad's party. I chugged it. It was pretty sick.
All right. Well, I guess we'll call it there. So next week, we have page 100 through 184. So that's through chapter 10, complete chapter 10. And yeah, GB, good book, good book.
GP.
GBHF.
GBHF, GBHF.